So there's my finished transfer. I would just say be careful, like on the nose. You can see I started to lose some of the red in his nose because I peeled too much. So you want to stop when you start to see the ink, the colors start to come up. But if you see cloudy white areas or where paper is still left, that's where you want to keep working at them gently to get that paper off so that you don't see any evidence of that. This one has a lot of extra glue around it, so don't worry. As long as you don't make a mistake with a ton of extra glue like me, you're not going to see all that space around it. We are going to make a transfer onto a piece of wood so that this picture that I printed out is going to be stuck on this piece of wood. First thing you need to do is to cut out the picture from the extra white page. So I cut out some of this, but I need to finish cutting it out so that I have as little white space left as possible around it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but less white paper is better. Once I have it cut out, I'm going to get my Mod Podge. It is basically glue, really thick glue that I'm going to use to get actually the ink off of here onto the wood. So with my glue, you're going to use a sponge, and you want to do this on a scrap paper so that you don't make a mess of the table. So I'm going to dip my sponge into the Mod Podge here, and I want a nice thick gloopy layer all over my picture. So I'm dabbing at it. I'm not really wiping. I want it evenly coated every which way. Then you take that, you're going to put it colored side down onto your piece of wood. So we're not gluing it on, we're actually going to make the ink come off onto the wood. So colored side down, make sure you arrange it correctly, right where you want it, and then we need to smooth it so there's no air bubbles left. So gently with your fingers, smooth and press it down. You don't want to make a ton of glue squirt out the sides, but just press it. And when it looks nice and even and smooth without bubbles or lumps or anything, then you leave it alone. So it needs to dry completely for about 24 hours before we can do anything else. So 24 hours later, here is what my reindeer is looking like. So it's dried. I started peeling at the legs here so you can see what's going to happen. I'm going to be able to remove the paper and just leave the ink from the printer on my piece of wood. So in order to get the rest to peel, you need to wet it. So you're going to use a little wet sponge, same as our sponge from the Mod Podge, only instead of soaking it in glue, we're soaking it in water. You want to get the whole thing nice and damp. So like this part here where I still see white, it's not damp enough. I'm going to add more water. And then you just go ahead and start peeling. So I just like to use a fingertip. That damp paper is going to start peeling up and just leaving behind the ink. We're leaving the ink on the wood and taking the paper off of the wood so that we get a perfect copy, but reverse, of whatever picture that it was that you wanted to transfer onto the wood. When you finish taking all the paper off, that's it. You finished with the transfer. Of course, we're going to talk about adding more things to this to make it more interesting, but that would complete the transfer part of the project.